Welcome back to another Reddit reading. This one is posted by user Home Depot Hank69 on subreddit Superstonk, titled Another GME DD Dump from Hank. Disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. Apes, I've recently gotten into comedy and wanted to test out some of my jokes on you. Why did the chicken cross the road? Because my wife is fucking the mailman. What's the difference between GME and my wife? GME doesn't have 4 boyfriends. How many hedge funds does it take to screw in a light bulb? Seriously guys, my wife is a cheating whore. What happens after you eat 5 bags of flaming hot Cheetos? You take a dump. And that brings me to my next point. Dump. Yes, apes. This will be yet another DD dump. No main purpose or direction, just a few DD theories from your favorite Uncle Hank. As always, this is not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor. Hanky the Christmas Pooh, for those of you who don't know. FTD cycle update. Alright everyone, so the FTD cycle theory was correct again for this period. For those of you who don't know, or remember, this theory says that because of SEC FTD regulations, there's a predictable price and volume spike every 21 trading days or 35 calendar days with about a plus or minus 1 day margin of error. If you look at the FTD cycle since September when it was only $10, the price each cycle is increasing exponentially, as it is now over $200, which means that it is getting more and more expensive to stay in this game. I'm not going to spend much time on this because I've covered it in tons of my past DDs, and many other apes are also getting into smaller FTD cycle research, which I love. In my opinion, this shows us something very important. First, it shows us that it is getting exponentially more expensive to stay in this game and that there should be a breaking point soon. Second, it shows that the media narrative that retail is the reason for this run-up is flat out wrong. In my opinion, retail stopped mass buying GME in late January and has simply held and bought small amounts since then. This right now is all about institutions being forced to cover because retail continues to hold. It makes absolutely no sense that retail is just randomly deciding to buy GME en masse on absolutely no news every 21 trading days. This narrative makes sense because then they can blame us when it all blows up. My waitress at Applebee's. So, it's this massive increase in volume and price that predictably occurs every 35 calendar days, and it exposes a giant hole in our financial system. Midday spikes. Apes. This has been one of the most baffling things for me to research, and it has taken a ridiculously long amount of time. As I've explained, I have noticed that GME has these midday spikes in positive volume and price. Here are the requisites for those spikes. They occur between 11 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. Any times before or after that cannot be counted because it could be due to early market high volumes or power hour volumes. They are the highest, second highest, or third highest single minute volume candles for the whole day, usually the highest. They occur on no news, and preceding and proceeding candles are always significantly lower than them. Here's an example of one. Just to show you how pervasive this is, I went to a random day and found this one on my first try. Here's an example of one that is not one of these spikes. Volume is far too low compared to other times in the day. In my opinion, it would be far too difficult to document literally every single one of these and run some data comparisons on it. However, after looking at many of these, here are my observations. This does not happen to normal stocks. This is extremely weird. This does happen to stocks like AMC, EXPR, Nokia, etc., but happens less frequently. These midday volume spikes have picked up drastically post-squeeze. The spikes also started to pick up after GME hit $10 in October of 2020. The spikes increased progressively more throughout 2020 and up to the squeeze. The spikes have been going on since 2018-ish and have been increasing more and more. The spike sometimes happens for a few days in a row, but never more than 3 days in a row. There's typically a 1 to 4 day break in between spikes, but never more than 5 days. The volume of these spikes, not price, has increased pretty regularly since 2020, but not consistently. What do I take away from all of this? I said in my last post that I think they are covering during these times. That would make sense because 11 to 2:30 is usually the lowest volume of the trading day, so they want to cover when they can be positive that a HFT won't swoop in and screw them over on the price. They also don't want their trades to give the stock momentum during high volume times because that could cause a price spike. If you all remember that big beautiful FTD squeeze DD doc, I think it's from this website, which is now defunct. They say that the GME shorting likely happened in 2017 or 2018 when they took on some debt, and it was likely that they would default in 2020. Why did these midday spikes start increasing more in 2020? I'm guessing that the shorts piled on more naked shorts between March and May when GME hit its all-time lows because they thought that it was going to go bankrupt because of COVID. Once it got above $10, their positions got more and more expensive, so these midday FTD covers happened more and more. Now these midday covers seem like a mainstay, which in my opinion indicates that they are indeed fucked in their short positions. Sadly, there is far too much data for me to codify and find significance. However, I have done enough observations that I'm pretty confident my above findings are correct. So in my opinion, it appears that this is what we are looking at in terms of the FTD cycle. 21 trading day, 35 calendar day FTD cycle, T plus 13 FTD cycle, T plus 5, T plus 6 FTD cycle, T plus 3 FTD cycle, and midday FTD covering. So within our giant 21-day FTD cycle, we have these other cycles occurring as well. The smaller the shape, the more frequently it happens. But the more frequently it happens, the smaller and less noticeable it is. Again, this is just a theory. My opinion, but what this means is that because the shorts have such a giant short position that's too big for them to unravel, they financially cannot do it. There are predictable days and times where they have to cover based on SEC regulations. Now, this is not an invitation to try to predict these times and profits off of them. That's stupid and will probably lose you money, not financial advice. However, the fact that some retard named Hank can find this simply by using trading chart patterns, a calendar, and SEC rules shows that they are indeed in too deep. What's the best part about all of this? Well, it's increasing at an exponential rate, meaning it's getting exponentially more and more expensive for them to keep this shit up. See one of my previous posts for proof of exponential increases, that this recent FTD cycle increase only adds to that. Again, this, unlike my other FTD posts, is not based on concrete data. It is based on my observations when doing backtesting. However, because I did many hours of backtesting, I am confident that these observations are accurate. If someone does some kind of data collection on this, wow, you really are God, because that would be the most time-consuming thing ever. But I think that, based on what I've observed, my findings are correct. One genius retard, user StarTanks, sent me this message a week ago and has given me wet dreams ever since. Current regulations forces market makers to have their net capital requirements positive, which they check once a day at 1 p.m. EST. Therefore, it is most likely shorts, as you said, buying back stock so their net capital stays positive for the day. This is what DTCC002 is trying to change. To add to your discussion of the spikes around 2 p.m. every day, reverse repos have same day maturity date that closes 1:15 to 2 p.m. every day. This, in my opinion, is fucking genius and gives even more credence to the DD coming out of the sub about the repo market. Apes, I have been a bull my entire life. I legit drink bull semen. But holy fuck, this market is making me a rainbow bear. In my opinion, the market is over-leveraged. The market is pricing things like the recovery happened 6 months ago. Banks and institutions did some shady over-leveraged shit with the SLR relief and other easings of restrictions during COVID. Inflation is likely to happen, the repo market is absolutely fucked, etc., etc., etc. I could literally write a giant DD on why I think that there is going to be a serious correction soon. Not financial advice. Don't ask me to do this though, I am focused on GME and nothing else. I think this is why Burry shorted Tesla. I think that he has the same thesis as I do, but he thought that growth stocks would be hit the hardest during a correction. So his bet against Tesla is really just a bet against the market that uses Tesla as further leverage. If the market corrects, it is likely that hedge funds will be forced to liquidate their GME positions. Like I said in my other post, we should not be praying for a market crash because that destroys lives. Instead, we should be grateful for the fact that we seem to have found a way to profit off of it at the expense of those who created it. Does GME benefit from a market correction, or does it cause a market correction? Who knows? FTD cycle. Hedge funds thinking they're in the clear. Earnings and annual meeting. You might have noticed that the very first chart in this post shows a consolidation pattern, red lines, that converge on earnings. I also covered this in a previous post. It appears that we have broken that trend. In my opinion, as I said on my most recent post, there is a good chance that this was simply to make apes think that the squeeze is over so that we will sell before the annual meeting. In my opinion, I think that the annual meeting will be a slam fucking dunk. It will probably be the start of the squeeze, i.e. the catalyst that gets it going. But will probably not be the squeeze itself. Essentially, the annual meeting, in my opinion, will show us whether the MOAS will be a January style squeeze, rapid and short, or Tesla style squeeze, slow and long. The reason I think it will be the start is because of the lack of information that we've been given about GME from leadership in the past few weeks, and their incentive to have a good meeting. We've seen teasers, the NFT thing, and RC tweets. By the way, there's no doubt in my mind that he reads through GME Reddit posts and is on our side, because you don't tweet like that if you're not. He's just being vague so he doesn't get investigated. That all point to a huge announcement. Could it be a CEO? A crypto dividend? Notice that there are more votes than shares? NFT stuff, etc. Either way, I think there will be an announcement there that kicks off the squeeze. More importantly, I think that it will give whales a good entry point. Here's why. I'm going to use the example of George Soros' genius British pound trade. You can watch literally a billion YouTube videos on this. George Soros made one of the greatest trades in history by shorting the British pound. Essentially, he saw the British central bank doing dumb things and were going to devalue the currency, and he saw technical weakness as well. He knew he was going to do this trade and knew why. However, he first needed some kind of news event or catalyst so that he could enter the trade so that others would join in. Essentially, Soros took a huge short position after some only slightly negative news about the pound, and it tanked. This made the rest of the market think that everyone was bearish, so it created a panic. After hours, I may add, so the volume was easily affected. People didn't realize that it was just one man doing this until it was far too late. This is a metaphor for what I believe will happen to GME. George Soros is not involved in GME in any way. Do not put your tinfoil hat on. I theorize that there is a long whale or several long whales waiting to pounce on GME for this exact reason. Wherever they are, they have been consolidating GME's price for the past few months. I don't even think it's to lower IV anymore to set up a gamma squeeze. I now fully believe that whoever is doing this is trying to tame GME's price and will then pounce on it once there is appropriate news. Why? If the long whale just did this on no news, the market wouldn't pounce on and be like, oh shit, positive news, market loves GME. It would just be like, oh great, more GameStop shit, it's retail again and it's gonna go away. I'm not getting in on this. Instead, if there's news and an influx of buying, the market might perceive that as, oh shit, this news was way better than I thought, I gotta get in. This is actually a fundamentally good opportunity. It doesn't matter if this is short or long-term buying, because once the price gets sufficiently high, the shorts get a call from March. Again, this is all just a theory. However, RC tweet seems to confirm this, as it says it's coming back from the dead. If you have FUD, I would direct you to see my previous post where I address FUD, but just to add some more. Remember all of the things that aren't normal about GME. Remember that DFV doubled down. Remember that we have more evidence of a squeeze happening than the people pre-January did. And they didn't have a previous squeeze to compare to. Imagine how crazy people must have thought they sounded. You think it's going to squeeze past 300? Yeah, okay. Then it happened. If they can hold with less evidence, fewer apes, and no previous squeeze to compare to, then yeah, I fucking can too. Not financial advice. I'm short GME. I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of retarded. Crypto and the FTD cycle. A few sexy apes have sent me some messages about crypto and GME. At first I thought this was bullshit, but after doing some research, there seems to be something here. Every single FTD cycle is the lowest point that Bitcoin gets, i.e. it decreases up to that day, but doesn't decrease on that actual day by much. Then it goes back up. This got me thinking more about crypto and GME, just like with GME's FTD cycle. When you see a repeating pattern like this in Bitcoin, especially because it's so unregulated and easily manipulated, it's probably not a coincidence. What I think could be going on is that shorts are storing liquid cash in Bitcoin in an attempt to hide their cash positions for disclosure filing purposes. They are then liquidating those positions in the days preceding the FTD cycle so they can pay for it. Notice how Bitcoin climbs up the next few days after every FTD cycle? I still think there's something more going on here. However, because in my opinion it doesn't make sense to store cash in such a volatile asset, So if anyone has more ideas, please send them my way. Sorry about all the crazy dots and stuff, those are my TARD indicators. The red lines are FTD cycle days. Notice how there isn't a discernible up or down day on those dates. However, before each of those dates, Bitcoin drops precipitously a few days prior. Like I said, that makes me think that hedge funds are storing capital in Bitcoin for whatever reason and are liquidating it a few days prior to pay for the FTD cycle. Why was this recent Bitcoin drop particularly bad? Well, it's because this FTD cycle was extremely more expensive and there was horrible Bitcoin news, Elon tweets, and investigations for one of the exchanges. Again, I think there's something else that I'm missing here, so if anyone has any ideas, please send them my way or make your own DD. Here is perhaps the most interesting thing that I've seen all week. A genius retard by the name of user Pleasantly Unbothered, great name by the way, sent me some information on a unique type of crypto that may have some relation to GME. This ape brought to my attention something called Saffron Finance, which is designed to pool liquidity to ease pressure off of over-leveraged investors. So I went on its chart and marked the FTD cycle dates and circled days where GME had significant price dips. It's not entirely clear if there's a correlation, however, it seems obvious, in my opinion, that this concept, a place to ease liquidity troubles for over-leveraged investors, could be a safe haven for someone trying to hide a short position or hide capital to be used to short attacks. I am not saying anything definitive here and definitely need to do more research on this coin, but it is something interesting to think about and again excellent find by the user who sent this to me. AMC. I am now going to address AMC. I've heard a lot of talk on here about how AMC is a distraction from GME, or how anyone talking about AMC is a shill, or how AMC is a hedge fund ploy. What I'm about to say may make some of you mad, but it needs to be said. Stop fucking saying that because it's untrue. It makes us look jealous, it divides retail, and it makes us look like conspiracy theorists. Before I go further, let me first say that I have no position in AMC and am all in on GME. I think that GME is the better stock and has millions of times more potential than AMC. If you look at my previous post where I discuss how there's a group of stocks that all have a similar pattern to GME, AMC, Nokia, EXPR, COS, etc., you'll see that AMC is one of them. These stocks have a remarkably similar pattern and all seem to have started around May 2020. In that post, I go into how I think that hedge funds shorted all these in concert because they expect COVID to destroy them. When the market picked up, they got shafted on these bets, so they unraveled together. I said that GME was probably shorted the most and the best news happened to it. So that's why it shot up the most. However, it is impossible for someone to be able to make a series of stocks behave in the exact same pattern for such a long period of time. It is the result of them being similarly shorted and SEC rules requiring similar coverages. Moreover, it makes absolutely no sense for a fund to pump up a stock that is already heavily shorted for the purpose of distracting from GME. Why would they spend their money on that when they could just short GME? It's clearly the result of an FTD cycle similar to GME. I mean, GME did rise pretty significantly this week as well. The thing that I keep seeing are these posts on days that AMC rises more than GME saying, if you talk about AMC, I'll report and downvote you. Are you kidding me? We should be saying, look at AMC, this shows us that the FTD cycle and naked shorting are happening to yet another GME related stock. This is further evidence for our theory. So please stop saying that bullshit about AMC being a ploy to make us forget about GME. This is illogical, makes us look like conspiracy theorists, divides retail, and makes us look jealous. Do you realize that the fact that GME and AMC are rising in concert is further evidence that we are correct about all of this? It shows that hedge funds are being forced to cover on specific dates. If GME and AMC went up and down separately, then the media would probably be correct about retail just buying in at random times. But this rise in concert gives us proof that they did the same thing with AMC that they did to GME, but to a lesser extent. So again, we should not be hostile to AMC. It is bad for us. Again, I do not have a position in AMC and think that GME is a better stock by miles, not financial advice. We should use the AMC run-up as further proof that the FTD cycle theory and naked short theories are correct. We should not be saying that it's a distraction. To add to that, I've long said that if AMC squeezes first, I bet that people will use their profits on AMC to join GME. We are all apes. We all have the same thesis about our respective stocks. and we are all fighting the same enemy. So let's not divide retail with this anti-AMC nonsense. Before you message me, don't ask my thoughts on AMC. I am all in on GME because I like it better than AMC, so I will not be giving my thoughts on that stock. I just wanted to address that point because I've been seeing it a lot. Messages. Finally, I just wanted to address my messages. As I have said, my inbox is always open and I try to answer every question. Just a warning though, if you want to message me, do it through my PMs. My posts get a lot of awards and activity, so it's much harder for me to see regular messages because they get lopped in with award notifications. So if you want to reach me, I'd recommend PMs. I'd say my response rate to PMs is probably 95% or so, but my regular message response rate is probably only like 50%. Finally, please do not message me about price floors, thoughts on GME for the week, financial advice, selling advice, predictions, etc., as I will not be responding to these. If you have some information you'd like to share, I'd be happy to discuss it, or if you have a question like, what is a gamma squeeze? I will probably answer it. But please do not ask me any questions about financial advice and the like, as I will not be responding to those. To those of you who send me information, however, thank you so much. Many of you are often inspirations for my DDs and often contribute legitimate points to my DDs. Closing thoughts. Apes, I, like many of you, feel that something is coming. The price action alone says enough, but the information surrounding it says even more. As I sent in my most recent warning post, be ready for some absolutely crazy price action in the coming weeks. I'm not sure when I'll be posting again, but I hope that it'll be soon. I will not be posting just for the fuck of it. I will be posting when I have something to say. So hopefully that will be within a week or two. Many of my very close followers saw that I put out a message saying I was thinking of expanding to another platform. You all overwhelmingly said YouTube. I'm not sure when I will be doing this, but I think it's a great idea and I'm going to make a plan to expand sometime in the future. Probably not the near future, but sometime in the future. As always, stay strong, apes. I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice.